Disney just dropped the entire schedule for D23, the ultimate Disney fan event, which is returning to Anaheim, California in just a few weeks. And while we are going to be getting major announcements for every division of the Walt Disney Company, today I want to take a look at what's on the horizon for Disney experiences. What's up, YouTube? Drew here. Today, let's talk about a realistic expectation for what's going to be announced at the Disney Experiences Showcase, and also how I think Disney is going to be handling the showcase. As Josh D'Amaro has teased, it's going to be unlike anything Disney has ever done before. Are you ready? I know I am. Let's get to it. Starting off, I want to talk about the official details we just got for the future of Disney Experiences worldwide, with the title of the showcase that's going to be hosted by Josh D'Amaro, the chairman of Disney Experiences, as well as take a look at this piece of art that we got for the showcase, because once Disney dropped this, a lot of people started getting very excited, and I want to talk about in this video a realistic expectation of what we can expect from the showcase, because there's a lot of official wording here that no one is talking about. And going into the showcase, I think it's very important to talk about it because I don't want people to get their expectations too high and then be disappointed by it. But first off, we have the name for this showcase, and it is called Horizons. Now, if you're a fan of Epcot, that's automatically going to be a, why is this called Horizons? And personally, I think that this has absolutely nothing to do with Horizons and Epcot, more along the lines of what is on the horizon for Disney Experiences worldwide. When I say Disney Experiences worldwide, I'm talking about the Disney parks, Shanghai, Paris, Hong Kong, Tokyo, California, Florida, Disney Cruise Line, literally everything under the experience division of the company. So while we are going to be getting major announcements for the domestic parks, Walt Disney World and Disneyland, this is quite literally everything under the sun, and this is going to be more along the lines of what is on the horizon for Disney Experiences worldwide. Now, keeping in mind, like I just said, this is about Disney Experiences worldwide, and while I do understand that this is leading a lot of people into looking into every single little icon, expecting that to be a tease for what's announced at the showcase, I think the most important piece of this art is not being talked about at all, and it actually directly lines up with what Disney has said officially in writing. So, if you take a look at this piece of art, you can see Mickey Mouse front and center conducting the Disney experiences with the sun setting on the horizon, or the sun rising on the horizon. But most importantly, Mickey is conducting the Disney experiences. And like I said, this lines up exactly with what Disney is saying that this showcase is going to be. So I want to set a realistic expectation for what we can expect on August 10th. Let's take a closer look at that. Over on X, Disney posted, the full programming lineup for D23, the ultimate Disney fan event, is here. Don't miss the Disney Experiences Showcase on August 10th, and here's the most important part of this, for a live musical celebration of Disney storytelling. Disney is saying that this showcase is going to be a musical celebration of Disney storytelling, and I know that that's just a description for the link that they posted to Disney Parks blog, but keep note here, the announcements is not a part of that. They are saying, first and foremost, this is a musical celebration. Alright, let's go to the next one. Josh D'Amaro will welcome fans as he takes the stage with surprise stars and special guests, again, for a live celebration of the music and creativity that power our stories. That's what was said first, followed by news and updates about projects in development around the world. So again, they're talking about this being a live musical celebration, a show, so to say, over a presentation, followed with the announcements and updates about Disney experiences worldwide. And here's the last description. It says, join us on August 10th at the Honda Center for an immersive celebration of Disney experiences around the world, accompanied by a special lineup of musical numbers, surprise appearances, and a few familiar faces. Disney Experiences Chairman Josh D'Amaro will host this exciting showcase, keep paying attention here, woven together by the theme of music. The theme of music. It seems to me that over these announcements and updates for the Disney experiences worldwide, that music is going to be making this a show over a presentation. What I mean by that is, in the past, if you look back to 2015, 2017, 2019, when former Disney CEO Bob Chapek was the chairman of Disney Parks at the time, it was much more a presentation where they were coming on stage talking about these updates around the world for an hour to an hour and a half, and that was it. Yes, would there be performances mixed in? But looking back, it really was just updates about Disney parks. And in my opinion, those major presentations has led to D23 being so popular today. If Disney didn't handle the things the way that they did back in 2015, 2017, 2019, I don't think that D23 would have ever gotten so popular to where now they have 12,000 seats at the Honda Center. So going into this presentation, I am concerned, quite honestly, that Disney is trying to make this way too much of a show, and they're looking over why people are spending upwards to, $500 on a ticket to be here in person. And that's for these big announcements. Now, is Disney obviously going to be making some major announcements at this showcase? Absolutely. I know for a fact that there's going to be some major announcements at the showcase. I don't know what they are, but of course, Disney is going to be dropping some big news here. That's the entire point of these expos. But what's the priority here? Is the priority for Disney to make this a show? Like a Broadway show with music and announcements sprinkled in with some special guests? Or should this be a presentation like we had in the past? And I think that Disney is going too far away from what people are spending so much time and money for, and that's the announcements, especially the domestic announcements. When Disney is hosting this expo in California, the people in attendance are going to be domestic Disney Parks fans. We are going to want the announcements regarding Disneyland Resort, Disneyland Forward, and Walt Disney World, Beyond Big Thunder Mountain, the tropical Americas coming to Disney's Animal Kingdom. But when I am seeing so much language talking about this being a live musical celebration connected through music, and the announcements part is on the second half of this writing, that concerns me, because I think that everyone is going into this presentation with such high expectations on the fact that this is a 12,000 seat venue. Disney moved this presentation to the Honda Center this year because the demand has been so high for D23. So I think that when Disney is raising the ticket prices and moving these presentations to a nighttime full-on spectacle, a celebration so to say, that these announcements have to deliver on the fact of what Disney is doing, if that makes sense. When you are raising ticket prices and when you are moving these presentations and panels to this giant Honda Center with 12,000 people, your fans and your guests are going to expect more because you are raising the bar themselves. Disney is raising the bar themselves. So these announcements have to be major to make these presentations worth it, so to say. Like I said, when you look back in the past when Bob Chapek was hosting these presentations, it was all about the news. I think back in 2019 we got 30 minutes just about Epcot, and well, I am well aware that the Epcot transformation did not deliver by any means on what any of us were hoping. I mean, look at Communicore Hall. My high school cafeteria was nicer than Communicore Hall. It's really, really sad what Epcot turned into, but also at the time when these things were announced, we didn't know that a worldwide pandemic was going to hit at the beginning of 2020. So there's no more excuse for that though. Now we are in summer of 2024. We've got a 12,000 seat venue. We've got people flying in from around the world, mostly, domestic people, and we've got people spending a ton of time and money to be here. So these announcements need to be major. So I wanted to come on here and talk about a realistic expectation because, well, there are going to be major announcements, and I'm sure we're going to be getting some very big surprises that hasn't been leaked yet or hasn't been talked about at all. Those announcements have to be big. And I want to set that expectation because I don't want you guys going into this expecting it to be 2 hours of nonstop announcements for Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Tokyo, Paris, worldwide, when the reality is I expect them to be leaning into the music more than anything with those announcements sprinkled in between. Some of the things for Walt Disney World, they're already on the table. We know that they're going to be talked about. The biggest one that I really want concrete details on is Beyond Big Thunder Mountain. This is going to be the largest expansion in the history of Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom, the most popular theme park in the world. So that deserves to be talked about. Like I was saying earlier, Epcot got talked about for 30 minutes, back in 2019. So I would expect them to talk about Beyond Big Thunder Mountain for at least 15 minutes. Give us some actual plans, get those shovels in the ground. I want to actually go to Magic Kingdom and see some work happening within the next 6 months. That's my hope. The other thing for Walt Disney World that's already a given, the replacement of Dinoland USA at Disney's Animal Kingdom, the Tropical Americas, which is going to include Encanto and Indiana Jones. have they already confirmed that Encanto, Indiana Jones, and Coco are going to be replacing Dinoland? Yes, that's already been confirmed. That's not blue sky at this point. That's happening. But now, I want some new concept art. I want specific details. When is Dinoland closing? When are we getting this reimagined Tropical Americas area? What are these rides going to be like? What is the ride system for the Encanto attraction? Give us details. Talk about that for a little bit, but don't go into it too much. Keeping on the topic of Animal Kingdom, last year we got the announcement at Destination D23 out here in Orlando that It's Tough to Be a Bug was going to be closing for a brand new Zootopia show. Now, I will say, I think it's ridiculous that it's almost been a year and a couple months since that show was announced. And, is it going to be a great show talking about Zootopia? I'm sure it will be. Are many more guests going to enjoy a Zootopia show over It's Tough to Be a Bug, which scares children? Absolutely, I'm not denying that. I'm looking forward to this show. But something like this should have already started construction by now. We already should have more details on this Zootopia show. We shouldn't have to wait a year between these presentations to then get, the concrete details. Because if you look back when the Zootopia show was first announced, all we got was a very early piece of blue sky concept art. They confirmed it was happening, but we know absolutely nothing about what's going to be happening in the show. What I will say is that I am fairly certain on the fact that Shakira is returning to be a part of the show. So could they talk about that? Absolutely, but don't spend a ton of time on that. Confirm it's closing, It's Tough to Be a Bug is closing, and confirm when this Zootopia show is going to open. I want some concrete details. So those are like the givens for Walt Disney World, right? The Animal Kingdom stuff, the Magic Kingdom stuff. Now, this is what we need to kind of get Disney back on track, to get this train going again. We need those big shock announcements. So what could be some of those big shock announcements? Well, I think one of the big things that's been floating around is a Moana boat ride coming to Adventureland at Magic Kingdom. Is this official by any means? No. But would an expansion of Magic Kingdom Park on top of Beyond Big Thunder with a boat ride of Moana with all of this incredible new technology, these A1000 animatronics, be one of those big wow moments? Absolutely, and that would be a major win for this showcase at D23. Now, what I will say about this too is that these are expansions. We need more expansions. And Disney has teased the fact that we're going to be seeing a lot of this turbocharging that they've been talking about over the next decade being expansions rather than these reimaginings. For example, with Tiana's Bayou Adventure, it's my favorite attraction, but it did not add any capacity to Magic Kingdom. It's just a reimagined Splash Mountain. The Country Bear Musical Jamboree. I love Country Bear Musical Jamboree. I think they did a fantastic job with it, besides the finale. But again, it's a reimagined show. So that time that it was closed, it's not adding any capacity to Magic Kingdom. Whereas Beyond Big Thunder, in this Moana thing, if it gets announced, would be expansions. We need more things to expand the capacity at these parks with how popular they are. They are as popular as ever with social media. People love the Disney parks. We even have a brand new park, Universal Epic Universe, opening, spring 2025. So all of these things are expanding capacity, and now is the time for Disney to expand the capacity. So I think that a Moana boat ride announcement would be one of those shock announcements, and that would be a big announcement that I would love. And obviously everyone knows that Moana 2 is releasing in theaters later this year in November. It's likely going to make well over $1 billion with the success of Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine coming up. That would be 3 major releases for Disney to all make $1 billion. And now is the perfect time for Josh D'Amaro to announce that a Moana boat ride is coming to Adventureland. Now, there's a big rumor that's been floating around for a while that, again, from my information, I believe is happening. And that's that at this presentation, the keyword here is that it could be announced. I truly have no idea what's going to be announced at this presentation. Again, I'm not an insider by any means. I don't want to claim to be. But The Lion King coming to Disneyland Paris. I do believe that that is happening and that the research and development is currently being done at the time of this recording for The Lion King coming to Disneyland Paris. So, when we're talking about Disney doing the research and development for, a Lion King attraction, a Lion King themed land, if the research and development costs are being done right now, then Disney has a golden opportunity to expand Disney's Animal Kingdom with a Lion King attraction. This would be the time to announce a Phase 2 of Disney's Animal Kingdom after the Tropical Americas. Again, I don't know if it's going to be announced right now because this would be, later on a Phase 2 for a Lion King e-ticket attraction coming to Disney's Animal Kingdom. That would be one of those shock announcements coming out of left field that I think everyone would love. The Lion King, it just celebrated its 30th anniversary, and the fact that the Lion King doesn't have an attraction yet is pretty crazy to me. Now, some of you are probably going to say, yes, we have Festival of the Lion King, but that's not an attraction by any means. I love Disney Live Entertainment. I love entertainment at the parks, but it's not an attraction. Journey of Water inspired by Moana is more of an attraction than Festival of the Lion King. So now is the time, whenever we get that announcement for the Lion King coming to Paris, to talk about the Lion King at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Again, it would expand Animal Kingdom's footprint, and that would be the perfect way to segue into the future of Disney's Animal Kingdom. We need those big announcements. Now, in regards to Epcot, the main project I want to see updates on are Test Track 3.0. Test Track 3.0, I firmly believe, is going to be the best iteration of Test Track by far, but again, it was announced nearly a year ago at this point. The thing I will give Disney credit on is the work has already started as of mid-June. So they announced it, the work started less than a year later. Now is the time to do updates, but don't spend too much time on it because it's already been announced. Now, if they want to drop a surprise announcement for Epcot, that would be great. Personally, I am not expecting it. In regards to Disney's Hollywood Studios, that's where pretty much anything regarding Disney's Hollywood Studios would be a shock announcement. Maybe a reimagining of Animation Courtyard. Animation Courtyard, if you walk back there right now, that's like the closest thing you can get to how Walt Disney World was when it first reopened after COVID. Animation Courtyard just feels abandoned, and it's such a valuable space for Disney's Hollywood Studios. So again, do I think it could be announced at this expo? Maybe, maybe not. But Animation Courtyard needs something eventually. And then one of those rumors that's been floating around online for years, Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith. My personal expectation is that Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith is going to be closing at some point. It's just a matter of when is it going to be announced, and I feel like we've already been talking about that for years at this point. When is Rock and Roller Coaster going to close to be reimagined? Is it going to be reimagined? Absolutely. Do I know when it's going to be announced? No. So these are just those things that, depending on how big Disney wants to go with the showcase, all of these things could be included. Now, I do want to touch on Disneyland a little bit because there's one announcement that personally I am hoping happens, and that is the announcement of an A1000 Walt Disney figure, an audio animatronics figure, being added to Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln at Disneyland Park. I think that a Walt Disney audio animatronic would be a perfect way to honor Walt, because if you look back to when Walt Disney was alive, he was so big on bringing audio animatronics to life, and that's what has allowed for this current technology to be possible. Without Walt Disney himself, we wouldn't have these brand new A1000 audio animatronics like we've seen in Tiana's Bayou Adventure, for example. So what better way to make a A1000 of Walt himself to honor his legacy, and that would be such an easy win for Disneyland. And then you have those things, that have been floating around for years now. The Avengers Campus e-ticket attraction. It's ridiculous that it's been 2 years since that project was first announced, and we still don't have most of the concrete details on it. We got some concrete details last year at Destination D23, but again, that was almost a year ago at this point. So now is the time to say, hey, we are breaking ground on this e-ticket attraction for Avengers Campus soon, and I think that they do need to spend some time on this attraction because Disneyland Resort as a whole and Avengers Campus need it. But again, it was announced 2 years ago, so don't spend too much time on it. Now, in regards to the shock announcement, the big thing that they could drop out of nowhere would be a Tomorrowland overhaul for Disneyland Park. Again, this is one of those things that we have been talking about for over 15 years now, I feel. Now is the time to do that Tomorrowland overhaul. That would be one of those major wow moments that would leave people feeling happy walking out of this presentation, for the people who are going to be there in person and for the people watching at home like myself. I think you guys have gotten my point at this point, and that's the language that Disney is using is very concerning to me because I don't want this to be a show. I want this to be a presentation. Unfortunately, they've already confirmed that this is going to be a show. So we need to set our expectations accordingly to the information that Disney is telling us and not get too excited. Now, I will say, I really hope that this is done right. And I hope that a month from now, I come back to this video and I'm like, damn, I was wrong. I think that there is actually a perfect opportunity to turn this into a show if it's done right. If the musical numbers and the special guests that they have are tied to these major parks announcements, then that is the perfect way to do it, because music is such a massive part of the Disney parks. I mean, like I've been talking about with Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Country Bear Musical Jamboree, the music is those attractions. That's what makes those attractions. And that's the Disney parks as a whole, you know, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Everything we know and love about the Disney parks ties to music. So can I understand music being used in the right way? Absolutely. I'm not anti-performance by any means, but I want these announcements to be the first and foremost priority for this showcase, with the music done appropriately in the time and the place where it's done right. But we need to set our expectations accordingly, because if it is more of that musical showcase over the announcements, then I think that everyone is going to be disappointed. It's very interesting the way that Disney is handling this. They are very clearly going in a new direction, making these more of a performance and a Broadway show over a presentation. They're now shows. I think they should be presentations. So am I optimistic going into this presentation, showcase, whatever you want to call it? Yes, I am very optimistic. I do think we are going to get some of those big major announcements like we had in 2015, 2017, 2019. This will undoubtedly be the biggest, you know, presentation that we've got from Disney in the last 5 years since the pandemic hit. Now that we're out of the pandemic and that, you know, leadership is getting serious about doing big things. But how big do those announcements have to be to make it worth it to have $500 tickets in a 12,000 seat venue? That is what we are about to find out, and I really hope I'm wrong. I hope we look back on this and Disney does it right. I want nothing more than for this to be something that the entire Disney community comes together and agrees upon, and we look back at this for decades to come, saying that this was really what set up the future for Disney experiences, and that this wows us in so many ways that we are left in awe, and we're like, wow, this is so exciting. From international parks to Disney Cruise Line to Disneyland to Walt Disney World. I hope that it's so good that I am wrong. I want to be wrong. But at the same time, looking at recent years and how things have been, Disney has kind of already done these shows, you know, last year Destination D23 with the Muppets and making more of a performance side. So between previous years and what Disney is saying now, I want to set expectations accordingly, and I have lowered my expectations since this news dropped, but I'm very curious to see what you guys think. What do you think could be announced? How do you think that Disney is going to handle this presentation? I'm super curious to see if you guys agree with me or if you disagree with me. I have nothing wrong with people disagreeing with me. Again, these are my opinions. You guys are going to have your opinions as well. So drop a comment down below. I'm curious to see what you guys think. But we are just a few weeks out until we find out the facts, and there is no more speculating. I'm definitely very excited and optimistic on what Disney has in store with us, and I will see you all in the next video.